Do you guys recognize this painting? It is one of the most famous paintings in the world. It's the Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci, painted 500 years ago. Da Vinci is not the artist we are learning about today. Here is a painting by Monet. He is the artist we are learning about today. Do you see the difference? Do you notice the color is brighter in this picture? This painting is called Women with a Parasol. And for 500 years, people were painting in dark browns like you saw in the Mona Lisa. But Monet wasn't using those colors at all when he started painting. Monet hated school. He used to draw caricatures, which are funny cartoons. He drew those of his teachers and he sold them for money. When he was young, his mother died and he went to live with his aunt. He was able to drop out of school and start going to art school. Do you think he liked art school? He actually hated it. He hated the old-fashioned way they wanted him to draw and paint. Remember the colors in Mona Lisa? He wanted to use bright colors and didn't like blending all his colors together with a brush. In this picture, grain stacks and snow, you can see a lot of cool colors that are being used. Monet liked to experiment with nature and the different colors during different seasons, and he actually painted a lot of haystacks. So in this, you see cool colors, which are blues and purples. And then in these haystacks, you see a lot of warm colors, more oranges and yellows, and a little bit of red in there. Now, a friend of Monet's actually painted this painting, and this is Monet in his art studio. He actually had a floating art studio. He set it up on his boat, and the reason he did this was because he loved to paint water. Because when you look at water, you see all these different colors floating around in the water. And based on the light and the reflection, water colors are always changing. And so he loved to get out on the water and float around and just paint and try to capture those reflections in the different colors that you see. When Monet became famous, he moved his family to the country near a town called Giverny. Guess what color he painted his house? Did you guess pink? With green shutters? Monet loved to garden and designed all of his landscaping. Do you see anything that's shaped a little bit like a rainbow in this? Monet decided that his pond needed a bridge, and he looked for different designs until he found the perfect bridge in a book of art from Japan. It was shaped like a rainbow. After the bridge was built, he called it the Japanese bridge, and he painted it many times. And this is a painting of the bridge. All right, let's look at another picture of the water lilies. This is a very famous painting. Notice how you can't see the exact lines of the petals and the flowers and the lily pads. Now, who has ever watched the Muppets before? You know those two guys that sit in the audience and talk about how awful the show is the whole time? They are critiquing the shows. They're actually called critics. There was a critic that said Monet's art was just an impression of something and not completed. He meant it as an insult, but that is how the term impressionism was started, and it is a very popular type of art now. Even though he meant it as an insult, people love Monet's art, and impressionism is seen everywhere now. All right, now let's take a look at this water lily picture in an art studio. You can see how huge this is. It's 6 by 13 foot panels. Now take a look at this painting called Impression Sunrise. Notice the gray lines in the background. They give the impression of boats. This is a picture of boats in a harbor, and this is another example of Impressionism, where the lines aren't clear, but you still get the idea that the boats are there. And this is the picture that we're going to be painting today. We're going to be using watercolors, and if you have oil pastels, we'll use those, or if you don't, we can use crayons. All right, here's an example of the picture we're going to be painting, and this was actually painted by a kindergartner. So first, we're going to take a blank piece of paper, and we are going to draw a bridge. And we can draw the bridge in any color we want. Remember, Monet painted his bridge many times. So just pick a color that you want your bridge to be, and we will paint that. Now, we are going to hold our paper horizontally, and we're actually going to draw a curve of the bridge from one side of the paper to the other. Just a simple curve, kind of like a rainbow. And then we're going to draw another line right underneath that. So we have two lines, and then we are going to draw some connecting lines down the middle. And that is it. That is our bridge. Easy peasy. Now this lesson, I usually have the first graders do. So this is a simplified first grader lesson. If you guys are older and you want to have more details to your bridge, go for it. So next step, we're going to draw some water lilies. So one way you can draw water lilies, if you want them to look closer on the paper, draw them more towards the bottom and bigger. And then if you want your lilies to look further away, then draw them more towards the top and smaller. So I like to draw my lilies with the flower first. And I'll just do a few. I'll do a few at the top too. Just get some really, draw them really fast on here. And make sure you color them in. And you can, of course, draw those in any color you want. And then I'm going to draw our lily pads. So I just kind of curve it around and then make a little dip in it like that. Kind of like a Pac-Man. Make sure you color them in. Okay. I'm going to do a few more. All right, so once you have your lily pads on there, we are going to paint. Now, because these are oil, you can paint right over them. And you can use normal watercolors, or I have the liquid watercolors. And I have a green and I have a blue. And notice how I am just quickly painting right over them. Oh, and I forgot that there is a fun little trick. If you have white and you want to make little waves in your water, you can make some waves with the white, and when you paint over it, you've got some cool little waves in the water. And you can mix these blues and greens to make it look more like real water, where it changes color all the time. And just go ahead and paint the whole entire paper. And after you've got your whole paper painted, you are done. If you have a foam brush, I like to use foam brushes too, because that speeds the process along. But that's when I'm in art class and we have plenty of time. Or we don't have plenty of time. Now we have all the time in the world stuck at home. So, here you go.